And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Sunday, October 29th, 2023. And within this YouTube broadcast, if you'd like additional weather information, you can go online to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left. And you point and click anywhere on this map, it'll pull up a forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories, and there's all sorts of other information available if you search around. But looking at the weather map on this Sunday afternoon of interest, we've had a strong cold front move through the Midwest with a big cold high pressure system building in behind it, and as a result there are widespread freeze advisories and freeze warnings all the way from areas of the Ohio Valley, lower Great Lakes, back down into Oklahoma and Texas. Further west, we continue to have critical fire weather conditions, Santa Ana winds. Those are those strong northeasterly winds that develop in the fall. And we have dry conditions, low humidity, so it makes for critical fire weather conditions there continuing across areas of northern California. Here in Alaska, cold front is working its way across the far north along the Arctic coast and north slope, bringing a little bit of light snow or snow showers that could be mixed with a smidgen of some freezing drizzle. Otherwise, some light mixed precipitation is still possible along the west coast into the western interior. Of note, too, we also had some light precipitation work its way up along the western Gulf, up into the Anchorage area, producing some very light freezing rain, but enough to make for some very slippery roads around the Anchorage area early on Sunday morning. Weather disturbance, we'll continue to watch the potential for some other areas of mixed precipitations, mainly on the west side of the state as we go through later tonight and during the day on Monday and early Tuesday. We have had the arrival of a couple of weak solar disturbances, which are triggering a weak geomagnetic storm. So there's possibility the aurora could be enhanced a bit tonight into early Monday morning. If you have clear skies, especially across areas of the east central interior up toward Fairbanks, you may have a shot then. But keep in mind, too, we're only a day past full moon. So we have still a bright waning gibbous moon. And then next weekend, don't forget, next weekend, the time change, and it's looked like there could be a shot of some colder air coming down from the northern parts of the state, working its way north to south next weekend. So we'll keep an eye on that in the week ahead. But in the meantime, temperatures are expected to average above normal for much of the state here for the first at least a few days here of November. Utqiagvik this afternoon, some light snow and fog, temperature just above freezing. There is a cold front now working through that area. Not a strong front, but one that's triggering some lower ceilings and that light snow. And then other side of the mainland, Cordova, north end of the Gulf, light rain and some fog, 36 degrees. And we've seen that precipitation spread further north up into areas of the Copper River Valley to around Talkeetna. As far as any advisories, watches, warnings, none are currently in effect. We still have special weather statements out for that cold front bringing some light snow or a little bit of light mixed precipitation along the Arctic coast, parts of the North Slope, as well as around Kotzebue Sound, Norton Sound, into the western interior, all the way toward Anvik and Galena. Not much in the way of precipitation is expected, and really not that much is falling at the moment. We do have some pockets of lighter rain, mainly along the Seward coastline as well as down along the YK deltas, but again, nothing terribly heavy. Here's that pushed moisture that came northward today from out of the Gulf. There's a weak area of low pressure sitting just to the southwest of Kodiak Island and another weak impulse lifting north, and that'll take shape as we go through tonight and Monday. Here's the low that's been sitting out across the central Bering. It's slowly lifting its way off toward the north-northwest, toward the Gulf of Anadyr. And ahead of it, this frontal system is just slowly going to weaken and push its way into the west side of the state, bringing with it a little bit of light precipitation. And then there's yet another low way south of the eastern Aleutians, but that's not going to be a major player coming up. So here's the weather map this Sunday afternoon. Here's the cold front pushing its way in along the north slope. We have the low out over the Bering with this occluded front that's just weakening, but lifting further north and eastward, and then a couple of lows, one out here toward the central Alaska Peninsula, and then another impulse that's lifting up into the Gulf right now. And the ridge of high pressure that was so dominant the past couple of weeks now has shifted further east, setting up over areas of western and central Canada. Late tonight into early Monday morning, we have weak low pressure in the Gulf with some light precipitation along it, breezier conditions along areas of the immediate Gulf Coast. And then the frontal system pushing into the west side of the state. Not especially strong, not especially heavy precipitation, but some areas of light precipitation. There could even be some light snow or light mixed precipitation as you encounter the air that's a bit colder and drier across the interior. So that's why there's a possibility of some mixed precipitation there as you head up toward the middle Yukon River. And then for Monday afternoon, we have a weak area of low pressure sitting there in the Gulf. High pressure up there over the Yukon, and then the front lifts a little further north and east, but continues to weaken with the low slipping up into the Gulf of Anadyr later in the day. And then by Tuesday, we expect that low to be crossing the Bering Strait on up into the Chukchi Sea with a weakening trough, what was left of that front. Some spotty light precipitation along that. Another low sitting well south of the state down here in the North Pacific. That feature is going to kind of pull back more toward the west than north. And if anything, coming up in the week ahead by midweek, Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to see more of a broad easterly flow across the Gulf and most of the mainland. So that'll be the pattern we'll be in, not one that lends toward heavy precipitation or big storms. But that's the way things are shaping up here as we get through Halloween and start in November. Looking at morning lows on Monday, we expect temperatures generally to be just above freezing across the Panhandle, maybe as warm as 41 at Sitka. There is a bit more of a breeze coming up here along areas of the Gulf. We're looking for lows, 40s along the immediate Gulf Coast, near freezing around Anchorage. Further north, temperatures are colder. Copper River Basin there, 17 at Glen Allen. And temperatures Monday afternoon should generally get back up above 40, Talkeetna southward to Cordova, and then down there through the Panhandle with maybe an isolated 50-degree reading. Better shot of 50 back toward Kodiak City. And then for Tuesday morning lows, above freezing here in the Panhandle, generally upper 30s to near 40. And maybe just a bit above freezing areas toward the coast here around Prince William Sound. Below freezing, though, in the 20s as you go further north inland. And temperatures Tuesday afternoon, pretty similar, generally in the 40s, a 50-degree reading, not impossible there, down toward Klawak or Heidelberg or back toward Kodiak. In the far north, temperatures have moderated a bit. They're not nearly as cold as what they were last week. We had a number of readings, single digits below zero. And now we're seeing lows generally in the teens in some of the colder spots. Readings along the west coast have come up above freezing for overnight lows because you have a southeast to south flow with that front that's working its way northeastward and weakening, but that lends for above normal temperatures there along the western coast. And afternoon highs should generally be in the 20s, just below freezing here across much of east central on up through the north slope, Arctic coast, but see 40-degree readings around areas of Norton Sound, including Nome down toward Imanak. And as we go through Tuesday morning, coldest temperatures down around 5-10 above, maybe at the Alcan border over toward Eagle and areas of the far eastern Brooks Range. But back further west, temperatures will generally stay above freezing from around Point Lay south through Kotzebue Sound and along the immediate Norton Sound. And temperatures Tuesday afternoon will get back up into the 20s across the middle upper Yukon and Tanana valleys. Back to the west, highs not much higher than the nighttime lows, maybe a few degrees warmer back up into the mid upper 30s at best there on the west side, especially within the Seward Peninsula coastline. Across the southwest interior with the cloud covering that frontal system trying to push inland, that's going to keep temperatures in many areas above freezing around Bethel, Anvik, and then certainly down along the Alaska Peninsula, overnight lows generally above 40. Afternoon highs Monday afternoon could be upper 40s around 50, especially from around King Salmon and Kodiak southwestward. Otherwise, readings getting up a little bit above 40 as you go up the Kuskokwim River. And for Tuesday morning, Lows, a few spots could be back down around the freezing mark, obviously milder along the water of the Alaska Peninsula and back toward the Aleutians. And temperatures on Tuesday afternoon pretty similar, generally upper 30s across the southwest interior through the lower Yukon Basin. But we expect mid 40s to maybe near 50 from Kodiak down toward Chiknik and False Pass. And looking at the temperature outlook for November 4th through the 8th, this may have to be modified a bit because there are some signs maybe a shot of colder air is going to drop from north to south by next weekend. So that would be around or after November 4th, 5th. So we'll keep an eye on that. Certainly maybe a little cooler temperatures than what we've seen here along the west coast. But the best chance for seeing above normal temperatures to go beyond the first week of November would be here across the Panhandle. The southeast, northeastern Gulf Coast has the best chance of seeing temperatures average above normal. And precipitation may average above normal across the eastern mainland, centered on areas between Fairbanks and the Alaska Range. Otherwise, perhaps precipitation slightly below normal as you extend out along the Alaska Peninsula into the eastern Aleutians.